Hello there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials, here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today, I want to look at the subject of kind of finding the light in the darkness, finding the good when we're kind of seem to be surrounded by a lot of negative. And the inspiration for this video comes from a poet, Amanda Gorman. If you haven't seen her recitation of her poem at the inauguration recently, I encourage you to watch it. Frankly, I would challenge anybody, regardless of your political affiliation, not to be moved by that, not to see the value and the passion and the meaning in all of those words. And she did something really, really special. She started with a question and said a lot of wonderful things in the middle and then ended with an answer to the question. So the question was, hey, when day comes, we ask ourselves, how can we find light in this never-ending shade? At the very end, she says, well, there will always be light if only we're brave enough to see it, and if only we're brave enough to be it. Love that. So let's look at that. And especially, how does that help us in terms of our life? And I always like to tie things to neuroscience. My life from the top of the mind philosophy is all about how to influence how our brain processes information, and as a result, influence our experience of life. So, we think we see with our eyes, but we really don't. We see with our brain. Our eyes just brings in data, but it's the brain that determines what we see, what we pay attention to. And here's the challenge. This middle part of the brain called the limbic system, we got the brain stem, lower brain. Upper part of the brain is called the neocortex. That's what I call the top of the mind. That's why I call it life from the top of the mind. Middle brain is the scanner, processor, router part of the brain, limbic system. And the mission of this part of the brain, since we've been on the planet, is to keep us alive as a species. So it has a tendency to scan the environment, paying more attention to negative data than it does positive data, because negative data has the potential to carry a threat, whereas positive data generally doesn't. So given that it has a tendency to attend to or pay attention to or see or focus on negative data, we have a tendency to see more negative than positive, more shade than light, more darkness than light. And it doesn't help that there's a lot of stuff out there to be concerned about, right? I mean, COVID, Congress can't get its act together, our friends are sick, some of them are dying. I mean, this is not like pretending that everything's great. However, if we watch the news, what you'll notice is 90% of it is negative. And there's a reason for that. What the news folks have discovered, this isn't like any knock against the news. Their job is to kind of keep us tuned in. And so what they've discovered is the brain pays more attention to negative information than it does positive. And therefore, in order for them to get ratings and kind of sell us some soap when they go to commercial, they put on what things they're worried about. So what we want to do, I think, is to make sure we are determining, okay, what am I going to feed my brain? What am I really going to see? There's always light if only we're brave enough to see it. And I think in order to be brave enough to see it, we got to be brave enough to look for it. We got to be brave enough to look beyond the darkness and find the light. It's there, but we got to look for it. This has something to do with other people, when I'm helping organizations or people within organizations, leaders, kind of make sure, parents as well, make sure they're influential with others. I always tell them, don't just focus on their negative behavior and try to stop that negative behavior. So your middle brain only wants to see the negative behavior and try to convince them to stop that. That often doesn't work. They feel criticized and start defending the very behavior we want them to change. There's a quote that I love that says, true vision is the ability to see in others more than they are showing you. So we look past the darkness, the shade, and we look to the light. Who are they when they're at their best? Who are they when they're doing what they really love to do? Because that's the part of them that we really want to connect with and become influential with. But we got to look for it, because they may not show it to us, and our middle brain doesn't really want to see it, because remember, it pays more attention to the negative. We got to be courageous enough to look for the light in the world, in other people, in ourselves, in our kids. And then we've got to be brave enough to be it. I love this. When I go around the world teaching people how to actually have more influence in their life, I talk about a concept of identifying and then living what I call our highest purpose. And what that means are the qualities and characteristics of us at our best. The qualities and characteristics of who we are when we're coming from this upper 80% of the brain. Clear, confident, creative, compassionate, kind, influential, purposeful, resilient, flexible, in control, empathetic. All of those things are who we are if indeed we're brave enough to be it. Now, here's the deal. It will take courage to bring these qualities and characteristics to what seems to be a negative situation. Because a lot of people are afraid that if I'm positive in a negative situation, that makes me vulnerable. Here's what I think. If we are purposeful in a negative situation or choosing qualities and characteristics that we really believe will help us be more influential in our life and the lives of others, clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, then we are more influential. We're not more vulnerable. Really, we are more influential. Or let's put it this way, we are more vulnerable and we're more influential. So that vulnerability takes courage to be vulnerable. There's a great book out there by Brene Brown called Dare to Lead. And it talks about the courage of vulnerability. She was talking to a whole group of military leaders. She says, can anybody tell me a situation where someone was courageous that didn't have some sort of risk involved in it? Nobody could. Because it takes courage to bring our best to a situation. It takes courage to be it. So here's my thought. If being how we want to be is important, let's make sure we're first seeing it, have the courage to see that light, look beyond the darkness, look beyond the shade, and then bring our best to life, have the courage to be it. What happens is that so triggers this upper 80% of the brain that we start making better decisions, we're able to be more influential. Doesn't mean everything will be perfect, but we will become more influential in our life and the lives of others. This is what I get to teach. I go around the world talking about my life from the top of the mind philosophy. This book is on Audible, by the way, if you want to kind of understand the entire system. I give you a model for how to shift from the lower brain to the upper brain and actually access the best of who you are. Then I talk about another model that spells power. It's all about becoming more powerful, more influential in our life and the lives of others by how to rewire the brain in a relatively short amount of time. Then I talk about how to engage others in a way where we're reaching for their best and bringing out the best of who they are and beginning to create what I call solution-focused conversations versus these debates about who's right. If that sounds like something you would want, something you'd want for your organization, for your school, for your church, all you got to do is go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. I have a very unique fee policy that I call integrity-based pricing. It basically says, I believe I'm dealing with people of integrity who probably have a certain amount that they can spend to bring me in. If you'll just pay me the maximum amount that you can afford, I will do your event for whatever that is. It's designed to make my connection with you as easy as possible. And if you're liking these videos, please hit the like button, share them with your friends if you feel they would be valuable. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, I'm on iTunes, LinkedIn, Twitter. So any of the social media that you find valuable, feel free to check in. I love doing this. This is fun for me. So I'm going to do it probably every week. I've got about 400 videos on my YouTube channel. So feel free to peruse those and see if you see ones you really like. But I'm bringing my life from the top of the mind philosophy, hopefully to you in a way that allows you to become more influential in your life and the lives of others. So until next time, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the future.